You're still sleeping? I've been sleeping all day. I know it's a lot. And I know it just feels like it's too much to bear. And sleeping probably helps you, but you need to get up. You're better than this. You've been resilient all this time. And this is just one of those things that happens, and I'm here. I want you to know that I care. I see you have clothes everywhere. That's not like you, but I understand you're just going through a tough time. So I'm gonna straighten up around the house, and if you need anything, let me know, okay? I'm here. Welcome back to Elevation Solo. I'm Erica Taylor. If you're new here, thank you for joining, and I hope that once you have seen the Reclaim series that you will subscribe. We are going to discuss a very important topic about resilience. Since this is a space where we're going to discuss those quiet mindset shifts that create the real inner peace and freedom, one of these topics, one of these areas that we can stand to become better in is our level of resilience. Many of us have heard the word. We understand what it is, but until you truly have gone through an experience, you really don't know what resilience is. Resilience isn't a buzzword. We use it in our work life, we use it in our personal lives, we hear it on social media. But resilience is that ability to bounce back. It's that ability to just recreate yourself sometimes when you have had life setbacks. And sometimes it becomes a situation where you've had a multiple setbacks. And that last little setback can be the one thing that can make the difference from you growing and prospering to you becoming stagnant. So today, we're going to talk about what that looks like, because in the opener that I just shared with you, it resonates, or hopefully it resonates with you, because as women who are strong, who hold many roles, many titles, many responsibilities, sometimes life pressures and life disappointments can get the best of you. Whether or not you are going through a experience where you have lost a loved one, you are going through grief, whether you have gone through a job displacement, whether you have gone through a heartbreak that has somehow shook the core of you, we all can understand, because at one point in our lives, we've all experienced it. Now, whether or not we want to admit that, that's another story for another day. But most of us have experienced it. When we talk about those challenges that we have, sometimes it's very easy as strong women to retreat, to turn off the phone, to disappear, if you will, and to go within. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's also the part where we can become so close to resting all the time. And like the example showed before with the opener, resting for long periods of time and just kind of soaking and recognizing that this is a very hard time for you and you really don't want to talk to anybody. And that's okay. And then there are the times where some of us will just do some shopaholic type things, right? We'll just go on a shopping spree, make ourselves feel better when we're going through setbacks. And then there are some of us who will just decide that we want to call our closest friend and have a conversation and share what's really going on. But whatever way you decide to handle your setbacks, I want you to know that nothing is wrong with you. It's just like grief. Everyone doesn't grieve the same. And sometimes it's very easy for us to look at others and give some type of perspective about what's going on with them, because that's not the way we grieve. we have to be very careful when it comes to setbacks because not everyone bounces back the same. But the most important part about this is that you do bounce back. Now, there's 3 steps I want to share with you in this video on how you can build your resilience when you're going through. I am not a psychologist. I am not a psychoanalyst. I am a woman who has gone through some lived experiences. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've gone through because the last setback that I went through, I literally intentionally documented to myself what took me to get over the situation. I'll step back a little bit. So one of the things that I went through was I had lost my mom several years ago. And it was a very tumultuous time for me. And to be honest with you, it was very emotional. And during that course of that time, I found myself having to gunny sack my emotions because I didn't want to deal with it. You see, we've had situations, and with my situation, I thought my mother's health was going to go back the other way and she was going to get through it. My mother was a fighter. My mother was strong. My mom was resilient. And my mom was stubborn. So I felt like with that and the fact that she was close to God, that she was going to be okay. But just because she left this world doesn't mean that she wasn't okay. It's just I had to accept that it wasn't her will. It was God's will for her to leave this world. I don't know if you've experienced that, but sometimes the pain of grief can really cause a hole in your chest, literally and figuratively. You are unable to talk. You are operating sometimes on autopilot. You are trying to sift through your emotions. You are having some recollection of experiences that you had, the good times and the not so good times. And along with that, you can have another setback that can happen, that can cause it to be like someone just tumbling bricks upon you. Now, this isn't happening literally, but figuratively, that's what it feels like. And if you have been fortunate to never have that experience, I am very happy for you. But I want to be real here because I feel like sometimes when we as women, when we talk about this word, depression, there's a stigma to it. And many of us don't want to admit that we can be depressed. You can be depressed and still be a happy-go-lucky person. I just want to share that. Again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychoanalyst. So let's go back to this. Step 1, you have to acknowledge the pain. I had to acknowledge that I was hurting. And I had in my head, just like when I've lost loved ones, that, the good news is that, she's going to be able to see me from above and she's going to be my protector and she's going to be like an angel to me. And so that helped me for a period of time, and honestly, a small period of time. But then the reality sits in, right? When you go to pick up the phone, dial the number just because this is what you do, and you recognize that, oh, that person is no longer here. And you're having to sift through that, right? The other situation I remember having vividly is I was in a HEB. I'm in Texas. And I was on an aisle. I don't remember what aisle. And they play music. And so I was listening to the music and I was in a happy-go-lucky, and then they switched to another song that reminded me of her. And right then and there, I got tears. I had tears and my eyes were welling up. And of course, I wasn't going to cry in the store, right? People will look at me like, what's wrong with you, But it wasn't a long period of time from the time that she passed to that experience. So what do we do? Well, what did I do? Well, I went ahead and hurriedly got my groceries taken care of, checked out of the line, got in the car, locked the door, made sure no one could see me, and I cried. And that was cathartic for me, I'm going to tell you. And I needed to do that because, of course, I had to drive home, so I couldn't be crying and drive and be emotional. But that's what grief does. Grief shows up when you least expect it, right? It can be you're in a good mood and you just in a minute, boom, you have another experience. And I've had quite a few of those because I've lost some really close people in my life. But I don't want to harbor on grief, but I think that that is one of the experiences that we as women can say that can really cause us to have a state of being resilient. You have to be resilient. It means that you have to keep going. And sometimes you really don't want to keep going. Not that you want to do anything drastic, right? But you want to lay in your bed. You want to watch TV. You want to shut yourself out from the world because you're hurting. And it's okay. So the first step is to definitely acknowledge the pain. Acknowledge the fact that you are hurting. Acknowledge the fact that you feel pain. Acknowledge your disappointment. Acknowledge your anger even. Acknowledge your discomfort with the situation. Acknowledge your loneliness. This is why it's so important for you to acknowledge, because if you don't acknowledge it, you can't get through it. I don't care what people have said. If you don't acknowledge what's really bothering you, you can't get through it, and you can't do the action steps to get through it. And it's harder for you to see another day, to actually find joy again. So that's why it's so important. The thing about resilience too is that it's not just that one big moment that causes you to feel like you've lost your footing. It can be a series of moments, and then it can be that last little piece. It can be the fact that you had somebody pass away, maybe you broke up with your boyfriend, and then you got a nail in your tire. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Now, seemingly to a lot of us will say, oh my gosh, get over it. Like, you'll get through it. Why are you worried? Why are you crying? Death is a part of life. It is. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves, because some of us don't experience grief and loneliness and disappointment and setbacks the same. So I would encourage you, if this is you who you find yourself saying that, right? Because you've learned how to handle your pain. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Maybe you've learned how to tuck it away and people can't see it. But give other people grace. We don't do that enough. Give other people grace. The second part to this is praying. Regardless if you're a faith believer or not, prayer is powerful. And I've heard this being stated to me a couple of times, and it actually causes me to wince. Someone said to me that the reason why someone is going through all the challenges that they're going through is because they are not close to God. Is because they're not living their life in the right way. I'm going to let that sit. That is so untrue. As a faith believer, God will test you. This test isn't designed to cause you to lose your faith. It isn't even put in the pattern for you to lose a footing about who you are. It isn't for you to lose your hope. It isn't because you did anything wrong. It's just what happens. Job was tested. And sometimes as you are growing and maturing in your faith and you're becoming closer to Him, you will find that life will give you some opportunities of growth. And for anyone to ever say that is a very judgmental statement. And it is built on a false premise. And I'm speaking to the woman who may have had a close relationship with God, but an experience happened that caused you to move away. Maybe someone close to you passed. Maybe you've had challenge after challenge, a financial crisis, or maybe you lost your home, or maybe you had to do some other things that you really didn't want to do, that you felt like, I thought I was past this. Why do I have to go backwards? Or it gave you the impression that you were going backwards. I just want you to know that God is still in the midst of all of it. He's still in the midst of the pain and the joy. But sometimes you are tested because there's an experience, there's something that you have to learn. And I can only share this because I've gone through it. My life hasn't always been easy, although others may think that based on where I am today. But my life hasn't always been easy. I've had my set of challenges. And we all have. But when we talk about prayer, again, it's like I've mentioned in other videos, it's not the complex prayers. It's not the prayers with all the words. It's just a simple prayer. If you can't get out of bed, ask God for strength. If you feel like a setback is happening over and over, ask Him for wisdom. Ask Him to show you what you're not getting, that you're not understanding. But understand, sometimes we will ask for things unknowingly, and we'll have tests that will actually shape what we are saying. So let me back up. I prayed for patience, right? I prayed to God for patience because sometimes I can be impatient. Oh, He knows it. And I have had experiences where I had to do just that. I was in the waiting season. I had to be patient. Now, I'm not saying every time you go and pray for something that God is like, oh, let me give you a lesson to get through that. I'm just saying that sometimes you have to look at your life because everybody's life is different. Everybody's life experiences are different. You're different. But what's important is for us to ask maybe God, like, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this? And maybe, just maybe, the experience isn't always for ourselves. Maybe the experience is to teach and share with others. I've had examples like this where I've gone through a storm, come out of a storm. I'm in Starbucks. I don't go to Starbucks anymore, but I used to. But when I've had this experience, I was in Starbucks. And then I'm talking to somebody in line and we're talking just, usual conversation. And then they just want to share something very kind of personal that they're going through. Or I kind of noticed that that something's not right? Like maybe they're sad or, so are you okay? And then they may share. And then unknowingly, while you're talking, you're recognizing that you've gone through this experience too. So you can share what you learned. And you can help that person have, I won't say make it better for them, but let them know they're not alone. And that's why this is important about resilience. So let's go to the last one. The last one is about community. Now, I don't advocate, or I don't say that it's bad for you to want to retreat a little bit after you've had an experience that's a setback, right? But what you have to do is eventually get back up. And when you get back up, you've got to have a community. Maybe you have a tribe, some people that you trust, that you can just be yourself with, that you can be vulnerable. We all need that. I will also say some of you may have just moved to another state or another city and you say, I don't know anybody. Maybe there's one person that you're good friends with, you can share. But everybody needs someone. And I will share personal experience. I used to feel like we didn't. I used to feel like I could be an island. I did. Because I honestly had to look at that, and it was because I didn't want to get hurt again. But sometimes you're just going to get hurt. But it's about having the wisdom and discernment and watching and observing to know who to bring into your bosom. So who's going to be that person that you can rely on and trust, and vice versa. But sometimes we have to be the people that we want others to be. We have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we that? Many times we'll say, I want somebody who, maybe you want to be in a relationship. So you want a boyfriend who's going to listen. Are you a good listener? So those are some of the things that I want to bring to the table. The other piece to this about resilience is creating a plan for you to move forward. What that looks like, let's say you are displaced from your job. Let's say you're having some kind of job issue. Maybe people just don't like you, or you feel like you're just being picked on. I've been there too. So what you want to do is say, you know what, this place isn't for me. And not take it as like, ooh, I'm taking the ugliness from it, but that you make it a better thing for you. So now this forms the next opportunity that you're going to have. You're going to look for a place that is got a little bit more where they are caring about employees, that they see your talents, that they are invested in the people, that is not lip service. I'm just throwing this out. And if you focus your attention on that, the ugliness that you have over here, it won't cloud your judgment. Because what happens sometimes is experiences that we've gone through that have been very painful and maybe even didn't even make sense. And it's not fair. Those experiences can taint our judgment for when the better day does come. And the better day will come. It's not saying like, if it's going to come back, it's going to come back. You're going to have a better day. You already know. It's like the when. When is it going to happen? And that when is us. It's when we decide that we're going to have the win. Now, we're human. So we're going to feel different types of emotions. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. Don't hold it inside. It's dangerous to do so. Because I'll tell you what happens is it causes you to lash out at others, because you're redirecting what was really bothering you to somebody else that doesn't deserve it. And we have to be careful, because just because we have emotions, we have to also redirect ourselves and manage our emotions fully. So the last piece to this, as I mentioned about you forming that plan, just write down two things. Two things that you need to do to get over and recover from this situation, this setback. Resilience is about recovering. Recovery period sometimes looks like I am taking care of myself. I'm in a safe space. Now, I know sometimes we talk about resilience in the lens of self-care. I don't advocate that, because self-care is important. To me, I look like self-care is your maintenance, right? When you're in a situation where you have a setback after setback after setback, no amount of makeup, no amount of skincare, no amount of spas is going to heal the pain. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on it. Eventually that Band-Aid's going to fall off and you're still going to have to deal with the wound. So let's go ahead, relax, breathe through it. Do what we got to do. Cry even. Sometimes we don't even cry, right? Sometimes we do need a good cry. If we cry, we can kind of deal with the emotion. And sometimes crying just helps get all of the toxins and the impurities and makes us feel better. It helps us move forward to the next part of our journey. This is what resilience looks like. I encourage you to hold yourself in a safe space. Realize that you are human. Realize that you do have the power to change the situation. But acknowledge that you're hurting. Acknowledge that you feel like that person treated you wrongly, that that person was unfair, that life is unfair. You can even say that. But don't get muddled into that, because if you do, then you move into another way of this. Resilience is also about looking at ourselves in the mirror and identifying where we want to be. Because sometimes setbacks aren't just setbacks. Sometimes they're setups for greater opportunities and possibilities. Sometimes the things that we have been moving away from, that we kind of want, but we're afraid, the setback is a way for us to do some redirection and get back to where we really need to be. It's a way for us to get our footing back. I hope this video has been helpful. If any of you are going through anything, remember, put it down. Because you do have the power to get through this. You have been strong before in other situations, and you will be strong in this situation. This is just a temporary setback. It's not a permanent fixture, and it doesn't become you. You become it. You have the power to control what your destiny is. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it absolutely is true. You allow yourself to have things come into your heart and into your spirit. You have that power. No one else does. You can decide to allow a situation to shape you in a negative, or you can choose to allow it to shape you into the positive. Whatever it is, if you anchor yourself to God, He will give you the peace that you need, regardless of where you are. Till next time, take care of yourself and take care of the one thing that's most important, your mindset, so that you can truly create inner peace and freedom.